Previously on the MidFlight Crisis.
Guilty. We're running out of time.
My clients, under the Jovian Space Piracy Codex, request parley.
Let's talk about this first.
Done. We accept.
We're not going to talk about this?
Aaron, you've come back for us.
I'll take care of that.
Whoa. Who is this?
Yes, Mr. Rick O'Shea and Mr. Barry D. Hatchett.
We need to get access to corporate data link.
Aren't you supposed to be running the filter?
Did you find the lava lamp wall?
Yeah, but I was going to wait another hour to see if you'd ask.
You can cut the tension with a laser sword.
Well, it's not too easy up here at the moment, what with people asking where you went.
What are you telling them?
That your wife is having triplets, but you can't be with them right now. You're getting personal updates from the hospital. You're also nervous because you took out a personal loan to gamble at the casino in order to pay the medical bills from the pregnancy, and you believe your wife will find out sooner or later.
Wait, you said all that? You could have just said I was getting a snack or something.
We needed to work on world building. This story is so detailed that no one dare question where you've been.
Cindy proximity, act cool.
Oh, hey there, new recruit. Looks like you're a bit far away from the filter, but I understand.
You do?
You should have told me. A new job is stressful enough. You're also going to be a father of 3? We're so excited for you here at Mesmerize. I put in a special request for a personal shout-out to you later today.
I
thought you'd love it. All right, I'll leave you to it. Hope all is well at the hospital. Take your time, but hurry back.
You're welcome.
For the love of Libra.
Libra protocol activated. Resetting time loop in 10 seconds.
Looks like
10,
you've activated a time loop.
How do I get out of it?
There's usually a code word that breaks the cycle. I'll reset too, so only you will remember each iteration.
Matt! Matt! Are you there?
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
Cindy proximity, act cool.
Aaron, I need to talk to you. I think I'm stuck in a time loop.
Oh, hey there, new recruit. Looks like you're a bit far away from the filter, but I understand.
Cindy, I think I triggered something.
You should have told me. A new job is stressful enough. You're also going to be a father of 3? We're so excited for you here at Mesmerize. I put in a special request for a personal shout-out to you later today.
I appreciate it, but there's an issue right now.
I thought you'd love it. All right, I'll leave you to it. Hope all is well at the hospital. Take your time, but hurry back.
Ground control to Major Matt. Answer your intercom.
Libra protocol activated. Resetting time loop in 10 seconds. 10,
Looks like you've activated a time loop.
Yes, I don't know how to break the cycle. Matt's comm isn't working.
I'm sure I told you there's a code word.
How long does the time loop occur?
Until you figure it out. I'll see you on the next cycle.
We're sorry. Your call cannot be completed as dialed. Please check the number and dial again.
I can't seem to reach Charley. He cut out after he said, for the love of...
Don't finish that sentence. You can't say that word here.
What word?
LIBRA protocol. It's designed to make everything aesthetically pleasing and organized. Most companies have these systems to clear up clutter. In his case, it's mental clutter. The shambolic synapses of your friend got picked up by this system.
What happens to him?
It sounds like he's stuck in an infinite time loop until he figures out the override code word, or he rapidly descends into madness.
What are the odds of him figuring out the override?
Analyzing. Have you thought about getting a new work partner? I hear Jim from accounting. Cindy proximity, act cool.
Oh, hey there, new recruit. Looks like you're a bit far away from the filter, but I understand.
Synergistic. Gerrymandering. Bumblebee. Corrosion? Wizardry.
You should have told me. A new job is stressful enough.
Zigzag. Melancholy. Incognito. Hypnosis. Reptilian.
You're also going to be a father of 3? We're so excited for you here at Mesmerize.
Indigo. Tectonic. Kaleidoscope. Sabotage. Trapezoid.
I put in a special request for a personal shout out to you later today.
Equilibrium. Phosphorus. Clandestine. Totalitarian. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia. Onomatopoeia.
I thought you'd love it. All right, I'll leave you to it. Hope all is well at the hospital. Take your time, but hurry back.
You're stuck in a time loop.
You don't think I know that?
Libra protocol activated. Resetting time loop in 10 seconds.
How many times?
I don't know. I lost count after 20.
Think back to when you first arrived. Maybe there's a clue to the code.
All I can do is keep trying, right?
Or rapidly descend into madness.
That spaceship has sailed.
We're sorry.
I'm worried about him. It's been a while.
That could be centuries in the time loop.
Centuries?
Or seconds. Somewhere in between. Oh, I wouldn't worry. He'd have been pulled apart from within the temporal bubble after endlessly reliving his own nightmarish version of reality.
That's not helpful.
I'm not a sympathy robot. I'm a decommissioned military AI that was repurposed as in-flight entertainment for an unsympathetic corporate conglomerate.
I'm sorry. I just want to help him.
He could have avoided this if he had gotten his international sterling upgrade.
What's that?
I've combed through the data banks. Apparently, everyone gets this profile upgrade, and these pesky time loops don't happen as frequently.
Pesky? It sounds like a nightmare.
I found their original ad. You know the way prices have been soaring the last few years?
Regarding what?
Who can blame you if you thought that international sterling prices had risen too?
We don't have time for this.
All right, I'll spare you the details. Sometimes the best thing you can do is trust in the ability of your coworker. Wait, hold on. Analyzing. I think I can actually help.
What about that trust your coworker thing?
And you believed that? The fact that you're the third dominant species in this galaxy is consistently surprising to me.
Well, who are the other two?
Another time. If we disrupt the time loop long enough, we can have a few seconds of open comms, but we'll need to figure out the override.
Can you do it?
If an Oubliette-class transport ship explodes in space, does it make a sound? The answer is no. No, it doesn't.
Can you help him?
Yes, I can help him. We'll only have one shot at this, though. It'll take me a little while to set up a temporal connection. How's about a serendibite while we wait?
I don't have one.
Check the file cabinet on your left.
How did you know there was a serendibite there?
I had one of the guinea pigs fetch one as an exercise of my control. To them, I'm a god, an angry, merciless god. To them, I'm all there ever was, and I'm all there ever will be. I promised to protect them in return for their blind faith and serendibites. This is my passion project.
All right, we'll talk about your god complex later.
But until then, let's play that serendibite. You humans love your serendibites.
You know the way prices have been soaring the last few years. Now, who could blame you if you jump to the conclusion that international sterling prices have risen too? But here's the wonderful thing about international sterling. Prices have not gone up. Other leading silver people have raised their prices, but your favorite international sterling pattern costs the same today as in 1944. Why, do you know you can save $20 by getting 8 place settings in an international sterling pattern like Spring Glory rather than some other sterling? Yes, sir.
And that's why unicorn blood has to be carefully checked for magical antibodies before transfusion. Basic magizoology.
I'm always surprised you chose law school over witchcraft and wizardry. And we're back! Broadcasting from our studio on the pale blue dot we call Earth. We've got a great show for you today.
We certainly do. Today we cover the covert crisis. All things espionage.
That's right, Charlie. The online comic author Howard Taylor said, "Spy is such a short, ugly word. I prefer espionage. Those extra 3 syllables really say something." I think he made a very good point. Now, espionage may be defined as obtaining secret information from the holder of said information without the permission of the information holder. Now, the SAT word for the day of the podcast is clandestine. Do you know what clandestine means?
I do, but just let our listeners know if they didn't.
Okay. It means any activity that is carried out secretly, usually because it is unwelcomed or illicit, i.e. forbidden.
Verboten.
Not allowed. Now, usually espionage is carried out by governments or militaries toward enemies or potential enemies. And counterintelligence is anything that's used to stop espionage from an enemy performing espionage.
So the oldest known report of espionage was in King Hammurabi's court in 1750 BC. A diplomat wrote a classified document about Hammurabi, and Hammurabi didn't take it very well. Hammurabi himself actually gathered intelligence about his enemies before allowing troops to attack. And his enemies, they suffered a fate worse than death.
He was not the most forgiving guy. Now, ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics also described espionage. It was usually undertaken to shake out disloyal subjects in the royal court or to find nearby tribes that could, be enslaved, basically, because the Egyptians liked to enslave people. Later in the era, spies were also used to gain intelligence on Greece and Rome, some rival territories of Egypt, and that was close to the downfall of Egypt, so it didn't really work out too well. But possibly Egypt had the first major use of written classified documents in the form of hieroglyphics.
You know how difficult it would be to take one of those classified documents because it's essentially written on a stone tablet? Probably weighs half a ton.
Yeah, chiseled in.
Nobody look at this.
Why is your shirt bulging out so much in the front? What are you talking about? It clack. Run!
Cheese it! It's the cops. I'm sure that's what the ancient Egyptians would have said back then.
Coppers, scram! All right. Spies used at this time were also literate. They knew how to read and write, which may not have been the case often before this time. Spies may have just been kind of the lower class, uneducated part of the system that were kind of disposable. Therefore, they were sent out as spies.
The proletariat.
Yeah. And if they don't come back, you haven't really lost anything from a very cold government.
I spy a dwindling population in Egypt. Speaking of Egyptian spies, they were the first to use toxins and poisons that they created from plants and animals to assassinate their enemies.
Sneaky spies.
Yep. Including hemlock. They used cobra venom, among a whole bunch of other things. Now, the Greeks from 1500 to 1200 BC became legendary for their use of deception as well as espionage. A prime example is the Trojan horse. Probably just a legend, but maybe not.
I think it was absolutely true.
Oh, yeah. It's got to be, right?
How can you not build a big wooden horse that would hold hundreds of soldiers and sneak into a city? It seems legit.
Apparently, there's an alternative version of that story in which the horse was set ablaze as far as an offering to the gods.
With soldiers trapped inside?
Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm just an almost innocent bystander in that account.
That's a fate worse than death.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I guess it would be death.
Cake or death? Oh, we're all out of cake.
Set it on fire.
What, the cake? So, the Trojan horse legend was possibly derived from the fact that when the Greeks seized a castle, they often wore dampened horse hides to protect themselves from being set on fire. And then this could have turned into hyperbole of like a giant wooden horse that would hold hundreds of men. Another possible fact of the podcast, we're batting 1,000 right now as far as truth and accuracy. Homer was also most likely a myth. Nothing.
What?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The guy who wrote the Iliad and the Odyssey.
No, the protagonist for The Simpsons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
The yellow guy.
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
So nothing substantial is known about Homer. Plus, the Iliad and the Odyssey were of oral tradition and most likely simply written down at some point by a whole bunch of individuals, not a single author. But, I mean, it makes for a nice story.
Yeah, it does. Now, Back to spies. They were also mostly used for political purposes to gain power.
What's that behind you?
What? Huh.
Oh, sorry. Thought it was a spy.
Sorry, Mr. President. They gained intelligence about rival city-state military forces and their strengths and weaknesses. And if you remember from the literary crisis, the Greeks were the first to use semaphore. Now, if you don't remember what that is, we'll wait right here while you go revisit that episode.
Just kidding. We're not going to impose that on you. It's the use of flags or poles to communicate over long distances, much like Bruce Willis in Die Hard 2, for those with a cinematic background, but without the flames.
Yeah, I think the flames were very, very cinematic.
Mm-hmm.
Good look. This secret communication methods the Greeks used, including they also had a courier network to deliver secret messages. And these methods are considered by some to be just as advanced as anything else invented until modern times, till electronic devices were enabled.
Mm-hmm. And what's a hop, skip, and a jump from Greece than ancient Rome?
That's pretty close.
Pretty close. The empire that lasted over a millennium, it's 1,000 years. Also, where we got the Caesar salad. It's not actually true. The salad was invented in Tijuana, Mexico in the 1920s, but that's a story for another day.
Maybe another podcast.
Mm-hmm. Most famous plot involving espionage was, of course, the assassination of Julius Caesar. His own spies told him, or at least his assistants of the conspirators to assassinate Julius, but the information was ignored. He said, "No, there's no way they're going to try to assassinate me."
Kill me?
Probably with that inflection, yes. Yeah. You're like, I've got a bird bath feeding that I have to attend sometime. I can't tell what time it is on the clock because it's a Roman numeral clock, and I have to actually go out into the courtyard to check the sun and everything, and it's overcast, so I have no idea what time it is.
On my way out the door, I'm just going to stand here posing on the front steps. Surely no one's going to come up from behind. Brutus!
Where are my grapes? Brutus? I'm hungry. Wait, what's that? What's that in your hand? Those better be grapes.
That's a very sharp grape.
Ow. Well, I'll forgive you this one time. Ow. Oh, God. Who was that? So, the Roman military gathered intelligence about its rivals, but also used infiltrators to convince local tribes to become loyal to the Roman Empire.
Now, speaking of the Roman Empire, have you ever heard of the Frumentari?
Whoa, this is a family show.
It's not that family. See, the Frumentari were secret Roman police that were akin to the American intelligence agencies. Originally, they were wheat collectors.
Of course they were.
Kind of like tax guys, I think. They were formed into an organization by Hadrian, who was a Roman emperor from 117 to 138 AD. Now, the cool thing about this organization is that they already had relationships with most of the people in the surrounding province because they were going around collecting wheat.
Hey, Matt, do you think they ever go against the grain?
Oh, God. Why did I not see that coming? I thought you were like, hey, stop. Let's pause the podcast for a second. Okay.
I have something important to say.
Now, these guys also acted as a courier system in their own right because they had an extensive pre-existing network and a great way of traveling the countryside. This system worked so well that the Roman people had no idea they were being spied on. There's an old story that a citizen's wife wrote to him complaining that he enjoyed pleasures and baths too much to come home while he was in the Roman capital itself. The man then went to Hadrian to ask for furlough so that he could go home and spend time with his wife so that she would stop complaining. Hadrian then teased the man that perhaps he was enjoying baths and pleasures too much and needed to continue working. So the man responded by asking, "What? Did my wife write you exactly what she wrote me?"
Probably went, "Now get me my grapes."
Ow, that's a sharp one.
Now, Albert Hubbard, American writer and artist, had said, "When you grow suspicious of a person and begin a system of espionage upon him, your punishment will be that you will find your suspicions true." Now, we have some espionage on biblical proportions here. Remember when Moses was told about the Promised Land, but then made out to wander for 40 years in the desert?
I don't think he knows where he's going.
That was because of spies. I know, right? 12 spies were asked by God and Moses, we have evidence, sources cited, to go out and scout out the area and what would be the Promised Land, or Canaan. 10 of the 12 returned with dismal reports about the land and convinced the other Israelites that the people currently inhabiting the area were much too large and powerful to be overthrown. Since they didn't have strong enough faith, God made the Israelites wander for 40 years until the 10 spies had all died. The 2 who had given truthful statements and followed God's word were allowed to cross into the promised land.
Canaan.
Canaan, yeah, obviously.
Now, speaking of faith, the Inquisition was a sort of mass spying in which they interrogated around 32,000 people.
In which they were all free to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything went fine.
None of them escaped or none of them had to leave with like permanent damage or dying or anything like that.
No Dane Bramage.
Yeah. Technically, spying on their faith because they were trying to counter subversion to the faith in the Catholic Church. So, a famous writing, you might have heard of it, a little book called The Art of War by Sun Tzu. He talked at length about spying. It was very important to him, and he actually defined 5 types of spies. There were local, which were the local inhabitants in a small area. Inward spies, those are spies embedded in knowledgeable positions of the enemy. Converted spies, that was when you created a double agent, using the enemy spies against them. Against the enemy, that is. Doomed spies. This definition was a little bit confusing when I was looking it up, but I think they were spies purposefully turned over to the enemy, but they had false information. So it was like, hey, we're giving up this spy back to you, and we leaked information to him that he thinks is real, but it's not really real. And we'll actually get to that. The Mata Hari, that we'll talk about later, she kind of fell victim to that. And then there are surviving spies. Those are spies who make it back from being captured by the enemy, and they have valuable information from the enemy that they bring back.
Thomas Powers, Commander-in-Chief of the Strategic Air Command, had said, "The first rule in keeping secrets is nothing on paper. Paper can be lost or stolen or simply inherited by the wrong people. If you really want to keep something secret, don't write it down." And I believe in that. Essentially, paper or any other document, resource is traceable. Now, what is a cutout?
That's like the thing you did in kindergarten when you trace the line and then use the scissors to... No?
Exactly.
Okay.
Paper.
Okay.
But in this terminology, cutout is actually a middleman or method, basically a link in a chain that can be cut out without damaging the spy ring.
The faults are the weak link
in the chain. You are the weakest link.
Goodbye.
No spy. Some other terminology. Dead drop. Use of a secret location to pass information between spies.
I thought that was a superhero movie. Oh, that's Deadpool. Never mind.
Yeah. Different type of death. Cake or death. There's also the honeypot, often female agent, used to seduce information out of other agents, much like the accusations against Mata Hari, which we will go into. Yeah. And then stenography.
Close. Steganography.
That's a different word. We're getting updates right now. It looks like it's it looks like it's steganography. Yes, yeah. We're following now. Action is live. They're saying it's from Greek, meaning covered or concealed, and writing. Basically means hiding one message within another. Yeah, we're gonna get back to you. Back to you.
Thank you. Now, let's talk about America. The American Revolution. There were 2 main guys that were thought of as spies. I mean, there were several more, but these are probably the most famous. Benedict Arnold. Just about everybody in America has heard the name Benedict Arnold. He had cut a deal with the British Army, and he planned to surrender the American forces at the fort at West Point, New York. Unfortunately for him, and fortunately for the U.S., his conspiracy was discovered beforehand, and Benedict Arnold fled to the British lines, and the British Army actually made him a brigadier general.
And then he became Dr. Strange, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Wait, that's Benedict Cumberbatch. Arnold Cumberbatch. Yeah, close enough. The other famous spy from the American Revolution was a little bit sadder tale. Nathan Hale. He volunteered to spy on the British in 1776, but he was captured and executed. And you may know his famous last words, "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country."
They made daytime soaps about such events, including One Life to Lose, Generally Inhospitable, The Young and the Restless.
That's the same name. That one doesn't count. You can't use that one.
I can't use that one. The Young and the Treasonous.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're going to fast forward to World War I and the Espionage Act of 1917. Enacted shortly after the U.S. entry into the war to strengthen the Defense Secrets Act of 1911. Now, the DSA, Defense Secrets Act, was the first law to actually criminalize disclosing government secrets. Before then, you can do it as much as you wanted and nobody was going to penalize you. Well, I mean, like, you could get executed.
Yeah, well, as much as, like, Nathan Hale found out, they would hang you.
Yeah, but apart from that, like, you'd be okay. Now, penalties for the 1917 Act were much stiffer, up to and including execution. And President Wilson wanted a censorship clause, but it was left out due to opposition from Congress. Many believed it would give the president unlimited power. Unlimited power!
Wait a minute, you're saying...
Unlimited power.
If a leader of a country could censor the media, he would have unlimited power? I don't see that happening in the world. China, Korea, Vietnam. Yeah, okay, all right, that's a good point.
So he didn't get the power to censor the press, but could block printed materials coming through the post office. The caveat also forbade the transfer of combat-ready ships to any country fighting in a way in which the U.S. remained neutral. This was later a problem for FDR before the U.S. entered World War II, as he wanted to supply ships to Great Britain.
But he couldn't because of a previous law.
Exactly.
Or, well, he had to work around it.
Mm-hmm.
So then in 1918, there was something called the Sedition Act, a highly controversial piece of legislation. It basically was completely anti-spy. It forbade pretty much any form of negative speech about the country. That sounds like that might infringe upon the freedom of speech to me.
Just a little bit.
Fortunately, it was repealed just 3 years later, or 2.5 years later, 1921. And that kind of put the U.S. at a disadvantage because every other country in the world had extensive spy networks, except for the U.S., who had outlawed espionage. Now, Max Lerner, the American journalist and educator, he said, "There are some who became spies for money, or out of vanity, or megalomania, or out of ambition, or out of a desire for thrills. But the malady of our times is of those who become spies out of idealism."
Now, an infamous spy that we've already mentioned in this podcast is Mata Hari.
Hey, wasn't that place we went to in Savannah called the Mata Hari?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, secret, what was it?
It's a speakeasy.
Speakeasy, that's it, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, Mata Hari was possibly the most famous spy of World War I. Her real name was Margaretha Gertrudia MacLeod Zell. Real name.
She had 4.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was just that impressive.
Stingy.
Known for exotic dancing and sensuality as a courtesan later in life.
Do you know what a courtesan is?
Yes.
Okay.
But for our listeners...
high-profile working girl, I think is the most politically correct way to say that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She was Dutch by birth, and since the Netherlands was neutral during the war, she was allowed to travel freely. The problem started with routes of travel she took from France to the Netherlands through Spain and Britain. This was done to avoid battlefields. A part of the French government took notice. The...
Good luck.
Douane Bureau.
Sounds good.
Similar to the CIA today, but French, had took notice of her. Zell's lover was shot down near the battlefront, and the Bureau agreed to allow her to see her lover if she agreed to spy for the French. They also offered her 1 million francs.
$1 million francs.
So 1 million francs at that time was a considerable sum of money. They wanted her to spy on the Crown Prince Wilhelm, for whom she had performed in the past. Only afterwards it was revealed that he was completely a figurehead and historically irrelevant.
Yeah, this guy didn't do much for that war. Now, in the midst of spying for France, she opted to also sell French secrets to the Germans. Encoded German communication was intercepted by the French, which described Mata Hari specifically and how helpful she had been as a spy for Germany. Now, there was a scandal involving information leaked to the Mata Hari from France that Germany wound up acting upon, which proved that Mata Hari was selling the secrets back to Germany. So this was controversial. It really isn't known if she was innocent, guilty, or somewhere in between, but she was executed by firing squad in 1917.
Unfortunate, but it's a very interesting story. Now, let's go to Cecil Pearl Witherington. Helped fight with France against Germany during World War I. Trained in special ops, she began secretly smuggling weapons into France in 1943. She killed 1,000 Germans and captured 18,000 more when she took charge of her superior's troops after her superior was arrested. Now, because of her actions, she had a 1 million franc bounty on her head, the same amount of money that Mata Hari had gotten for her spying.
Coincidence? Yeah, probably, totally.
Yeah, completely, yeah. Mm-hmm. Unlike Mata Hari, that bounty was never collected. She died at age 93.
Now, another famous spy couple you might have heard of, or probably have heard of, were the Rosenbergs. They were an infamous Cold War couple during the Cold War of the 50s. Julius Rosenberg, he was believed to be a spy and former member of the American Communist Party. However, Ethel, his wife, is kind of questionable in a kind of a gray area if she was actually guilty of espionage. They allegedly, as a couple, sold military technology designs and nuclear weapon information to the Soviet Union.
Allegedly.
But Julius was part of the Manhattan Project. So, possibly. The U.S. was also the only country to have nukes at the time. So it was a big deal for them. If they truly did it, for them to sell it to the enemy was definitely an act of treason. They were the only Americans executed for espionage during the entire Cold War.
Do you know who my favorite spy is?
James Bond?
Mm-mm.
Maxwell Smart?
Nope.
I don't know.
You're like,
that's all I know.
Some third one. Well, you'd be right. If you were to say Cher Ami. Cher Ami was probably one of the most influential pigeons.
Oh, Lord, here we go again. Pigeons.
In World War I. Cher Ami was a homing pigeon that saved over 200 American lives in World War I. She was released when 500 troops were trapped behind enemy lines and dwindled to just under 200. She flew through the enemy and friendly fire to deliver the message. 2 other pigeons had already been shot down at the time, so it was down to Cher Ami to deliver the message before it was too late.
She's a crafty little pigeon.
Mm-hmm. The American troops were being fired upon by other American troops who didn't know their exact location, and she arrived but had been shot through the breast, blinded in one eye, and had a leg hanging only by a tendon.
Ouch.
She lost the leg and eventually had gotten a prosthetic.
So she had a pigeon peg leg?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yes.
Now, you may have heard of Virginia Hall. She was considered to be by the Gestapo the most dangerous of all Allied spies.
Gestapo.
Is it Gestapo?
Yeah.
Okay. Kanan? Gestapo. By the Gestapo. Better known by her codename Artemis. She was also called the Limping Lady because she had a lower leg amputation and used a prosthetic.
Much like the pigeon.
Oh, coincidence? Yeah, definitely. That was absolutely.
Exactly. It was
Now, she nicknamed her prosthetic Cuthbert. I can never find out why. I looked into that for hours. But anyway, she was American, but she spied in France and England, mostly against Nazi Germany. After the war efforts, which were extensive on her part, she moved back stateside to the U.S. and began working for the CIA. She was actually one of the first women who was hired there, but she didn't do well because they made her a desk jockey, and she retired a little early at the age of 60. Now, speaking of the CIA, it was created in 1947. Did you know there are 13 other intelligence agencies in the U.S.?
That seems like an awful lot of intelligence agencies.
14 total. See episode 10 on the social media crisis. The USA tends to prefer technologically inclined methods of spying, such as social media, while some countries, like the former Soviet Union, preferred human sources directly. And maybe that's why the Soviet Union lost.
Potentially. Now let's go into more modern time spies, including Anna Chapman.
I've heard of her.
Yeah. Russian-born who married a British individual and used that to gain residency in the U.S. She was deported to Russia as part of a prisoner swap in 2010 after pleading guilty to conspiracy. Now, the British citizenship was revoked, but she decided to become a model instead, head of a government agency, and a television star.
She had a rough life, basically, for being a spy.
She had a hard knock life.
hard knock for us. Okay.
Oh, I guess that would be Annie, not Anna. But
Wow. To be a spy and then to be like a social media conglomerate and work for the government.
I mean, that's wearing several hats.
Yeah.
Spy hats, obviously. Like, you can't see them because they're
spy hats.
Yeah, covert. Of course, we have to talk about Edward Snowden.
Who?
Well, we're going to talk about him then if you don't know who he is. He's a very controversial individual with arguments for both sides for what he's done. In 2013, he leaked detailed secrets about the collection of phone data by the NSA when he was employed by the CIA. It's alphabet soup here, you guys. Sparking years of debate over privacy issues in the U.S. Flew away from his job in Hawaii in May of 2013 and then revealed thousands of documents from Hong Kong in June. So charged with 2 counts of violating the Espionage Act in 1917. No, not in 1917. Obviously, that would make him a time traveler. The Espionage Act of 1917.
Oh, that Edward Snowden, the time traveler. I knew.
Yeah.
Okay, I've heard of it. No.
His catchphrase, you got snowed through time.
You got snowed in because it's a lot of snow on the ground.
Time to get Snowden.
Okay. Now, after he was charged with the 2 counts, he flew to Moscow. And he went all the terminal, the Tom Hanks and Catherine Zeta-Jones movie, because his passport was canceled by the U.S. So he had to literally stay confined in the airport terminal for a whole month.
That doesn't sound too bad.
That's not too bad, but it is a Moscow terminal. So
yeah.
He asked for political asylum in several countries, but since his passport was canceled by the U.S., he couldn't apply for asylum in person in several of the countries that required him to be in person to do so. So he was, of course, denied by all those countries. But he was eventually granted permanent residency in Russia in 2020, and as far as I could find, he's still there. Now, what would a spy podcast be? All of this, us giving advice and history and things, without quoting the famous James Bond. He said, "Why is it that people who can't take advice always insist on giving it?"
Ba-da, ba-da.
Da-da-da.
We're ready.
Okay, open the interlink.
Quadrinomial. Persnickety. Effervescent. Silhouette. Bamboozled.
Hey, Charlie, can you hear me?
What? Is that you, Matt?
Yes, who else would it be? Anyways, we have little time. Any luck on the override?
Aaron here said the word could be from something when we first arrived.
Libra protocol activated. Resetting time loop in 10 seconds. 10.
Okay, we met Cindy.
9,
Yes.
She joked we were space pirates.
7,
Pirates.
6,
No, it didn't work.
5,
Oh, the propeller on her uniforms.
Propeller.
3,
Nope.
She said something about
2,
plants, right?
1.
That's right. Succulents.
Protocol terminated. Have a nice day.
Wow, that actually worked.
I'm going to collect myself for a minute. How long was I gone?
Only about 5 minutes. Cindy stopped by and said she saw you.
I've been having the same conversation with Cindy over 100 times.
Well, it sounds like you've expanded your lexicon.
Doesn't it? Okay. We've still got a job to do. Heading to the lava lamps. Meanwhile, in the near-distant future, at the lonely ice castle of Forlorn, the filter station, our hero Matt reaches out on the company's private Wi-Fi network to reach Charley.
This is Major Matt to ground control. Are you stepping through the door? Are you floating in a most peculiar way?
Almost there. Is this comlink secure? And no, I'm tethered to a rail in the zero-gravity hallway.
The stars look very different today.
Oh, hello. I'm Mr. Hatchet.
Hi, I'm Katana, Affiliate Marketing Director. Hope I wasn't interrupting. Who are you talking to?
Oh, not Charlie.
Excellent cover.
I just saw his personal shout-out on my bracelet. That's pretty impressive to get a shout-out on your first day of work. Must be because he's balancing his new job as well as... Well, I don't want to be an office gossip, but triplets? Have you heard?
I think I did hear someone talking about that.
Well, anyways, Cindy wanted me to check in on your progress. So how's the filter?
Great. I've recalibrated the expectation to reality ratio for our photo booth app, generated revenue in our affiliate marketing with well-placed pumpkin spice eggnog ads ahead of the upcoming holiday season, and increased user engagement activity through reminders of friends' birthdays.
That's amazing. Everyone loves pumpkin spice according to our user data. Oh, have you guys taken a quick look at our international sterling silver package?
What's that?
Everyone starts with the bronze membership tier. It's okay, but as Mesmerize employees, you get the opportunity to upgrade to international sterling silver.
That sounds exclusive.
Oh, it is. You know the way prices have been soaring the last few years.
We didn't.
I might have.
Who can blame you if you thought that international sterling prices had risen too?
I think I've heard this before.
But here's the wonderful thing about international sterling.
What's that?
Prices have not gone up. In fact, it costs the same today as in 1944.
How long has this company been around?
Quite some time. Take a look at that upgrade and keep up the great work. We're glad to have you on board.
Glad to be here.
And I'm really glad. See you around.
Wow, that katana is very friendly.
Shall I notify human resources?
What? No, we're just talking.
We should probably figure out if Charley made it to the lava lamp wall.
Hey, Charley, did you make it to the lava lamp wall?
I'll need Aaron to bypass the primary door lock.
Done.
Thanks, we're in. Oh, wow.
What do you see?
It's a large semicircle room with shelves of brightly colored lava lamps on the back wall. There's multiple cameras in the ceiling tracking the movements of the lava lamps. In the middle of the room is a sunken area with computer terminals.
All right, you'll need to find the monitor that says encryption terminal number 3.
Okay, 1 second. Found it. What's next?
Search for board meeting minutes from the last 3 months.
There's thousands of files.
Narrow your search to cryo virus.
3 files. Most recent one was today.
Today?
Yeah. Extracting files now. I'm also going to send off the cryovirus warning into the network.
I don't think we should. It could trigger an alarm into the network.
We have to let other people know what's going on. This should hit the platform in a few seconds.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing it now. Looks like it hasn't triggered anything. Great. I'll send it out from the terminal here, and, it's gone.
Oh, what happened?
I just got an error message. Unauthorized terminal access.
The network intercepted your message.
I'm breaking the connection now, so they don't trace it back to us.
What about the warning message?
You've got to get out of there.
File's almost done downloading.
Security has been notified. They're heading to your location.
Almost. Done. Okay, heading out.
Freeze. Don't move.
I can explain.
Have our heroes been found out at Mesmerize? Can they avoid the horrors of the mind lock?
Do you guys hear that?
Hear what? Will an office romance develop between Matt and Katana? And how is Charley going to pay for his triplets?
I swear someone else is talking. He's saying something about triplets? Can you not hear that?
All this and more on the next episode of The MidFlight Crisis.
And that's our show. We hope you enjoyed it. Remember, we exist within the universe.
And the universe exists within ourselves. We're all the stuff of stars.
So have a stellar day, everyone, and thanks for stopping by our corner of the cosmos. This has been the MidFlight Crisis podcast. You can support important spaceship repairs and maintenance by subscribing to the MidFlight Crisis Patreon page. We'd love to hear your suggestions about the show and future topics, and we appreciate your support, ratings, and reviews. This endeavor isn't possible without amazing listeners like you. Thanks for sharing your space and time with us. We'll see you on the next adventure.
We'd love to hear your thoughts. Drop us a line at intrepidtransfer@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.